Welcome back to Book Break. My name is Emma and today I'm going to tell you everything that you have ever wanted to know about influencer marketing from the perspective of a publisher, because my job here at Macmillan is video and influencer manager, and so I work really closely with all of you amazing creators out there. I run our influencer marketing program here, and I know that you all have a lot of questions. In fact, I posted on our Instagram just the other day. Our Instagram, if you don't already follow us, is at BookBreakUK. I posted asking for your questions and I got a lot of them sent in. So we're going to go through them all now. I'm going to be as open and honest with you as you would like and tell you everything that you need to know. If you are a creator, if you want to be a creator, or on the flip side, if you're interested in working with influencer marketers from the side of the publisher, then hopefully this video will be really interesting and useful for you. So one question I got was, what is the typical day in the life of an influencer marketing manager? And the answer to that is, it is so varied every single day. There are so many different parts to my job. But a typical day in the life might include writing newsletters that are going to go out to influencers, talking about the books we've got coming up that I think they're going to like. It might include organising mailing lists or organising exciting bundles to go out to influencers. It might include going to meetings with other people from the marketing and publicity teams to talk about particular titles that people are really excited about and that they really think influencers will enjoy and will get behind. And so we have sort of brainstorming meetings to talk about what kind of extra things we might do to really have these books fly online. A day in my job might include organising an event or running the event, and those are always really fun, getting to actually chat to some of the creators in real life. It might include running focus groups where I get to talk to the creators in quite a deep way, like do a deep dive into what they want out of our working relationship and also about what they want out of the books that come out of Macmillan. And of course my job also includes making content, whether it's here on YouTube, whether it's short form content over on Instagram. So I really get to do both sides of the creator landscape. I got a lot of questions sent in asking how we decide who gets proofs, and there were kind of two categories that these questions fell into. The first was, how do we decide which influencers get accepted into our influencer program in the first place? And then the second is, when we get all of the requests in for proofs from our influencers who are on our list, how do we decide who gets which one? So let me tell you, there are no hard and fast rules. There are no specific requirements as a creator to get onto our influencer program. I sometimes get people asking me if there is a certain number of followers that they need, if there are particular metrics, and it is just not as simple as that. But what I will say is, rest assured that followers are really not the biggest metric that we use at all. In fact, we barely think about followers. I do look at them. If an account is really, really small, it is unlikely that they're going to be getting the kind of reach and engagement that we need. But that's not always the case. Sometimes we've accepted really quite new accounts with really quite small followings onto our program because we can see that their content is performing incredibly well organically. It's getting a lot of engagement. Engagement is our absolute #1 top priority, because that's how books really blow up in the book community, is from people talking to each other about them. And so engagement is our absolute top priority. Reach is another really important metric to us. Obviously engagement tends to be a good sign of reach. For reels and stuff, we can actually see the reach. For just like standard Instagram main feed posts, we can't see the reach, but we can estimate it from engagement and followers. We also want to see good quality posts. So if we really like somebody's account because we like the content that they create, that is another thing that we might take on board, is this person going to create content that showcase our books in the way that we want? And I might read some of their other book reviews and see what kind of books they like. Do they like the kind of books that we have on our list? Are they going to be a good fit for our program? So it's a very involved process. It takes me and Carol Ann, who you may know is the other member of the Book Break influencer program with me. We put in a kind of a whole day into our calendars to go through in a lot of detail and decide who we can accept onto the program. Ideally, we would love to accept all of you, but we can't. We're a small team. We just don't have the resources to accept more than a sort of small handful of influencers each month. So if you have applied for the program, which you can, there's a link in the description box below. It opens for a few days every month. If you have applied in the past and haven't been successful, please don't be disheartened. Try again. It might be that we had a lot of applications that month and we just couldn't accept that many. Or it might be that you know that your account has grown and improved in the last month and you want to show us. So never be disheartened. If we don't accept you, it's not because we don't see the value in your account. But in terms of actually allocating the proofs, again, ideally, I would love to be able to send proofs to everyone who requests them from our list, but the list has grown so much and printing proofs is very expensive, sending them out is expensive, especially if we're doing little goodies to go with them, and so we just don't have the resources to send every single influencer every proof that they would like. And so again, it is quite an involved process going through and deciding who's going to get which proof. So one thing we do is we ask people to let us know their priority. So where possible, we can get people their #1 priority proof, even if we can't get them everything else that they requested. We also know from our questionnaires that we send out to our influencers, we know the kind of genres and special interests that they like. And so we will try and match up books to the readers that we think most want to read them. I mean, that's our goal ultimately, is sending books to the right readers for them so that we can get honest reviews, but honest reviews where they're relevant, because obviously we completely encourage all opinions. We have absolutely no problem with you reviewing a book and saying honestly that it wasn't for you. You will not harm your relationship with us in any way from doing that, I can promise. We love authenticity. But if we are sending, for example, a fantasy book to somebody who we know doesn't really like fantasy, and then they give it a bad review, that review isn't particularly useful to any potential reader because they weren't the right match for it. So we're always trying to match people up with the books that we think they're going to like, that we think are going to speak to their tastes. We also will try and match up books if a author is from a specific community or the book is on a particular theme. We do want to prioritize readers who have told us that this is part of their identity and informs the books that they like to read, because again, we think it's really important for people to be able to speak to their own communities about their own experiences in a way that is more authentic than somebody else might be able to do. But take everything I've said with a pinch of salt. Again, there are no hard and fast rules. Sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes if we have a huge number of requests for a proof, we will pick them using a fun game. For example, I will link to a video I uploaded where we were deciding who would get proofs of the blonde identity, and we literally just scrolled through and picked randomly, and it was chaos and a lot of fun. So don't ever think that there is just no chance that you're going to get a proof because you worry that you don't fit certain requirements. We do try and make sure that as many influencers as possible can be sent books that they're interested in. Someone asked if authors going to say who their proofs go to, which is a really interesting question because sometimes yes. In general, we don't include the authors in that decision making because we have the closest relationship with our influencers, and so we sort of know the best who they might want to go to. But absolutely, some authors have their own relationships with creators or have their own preferences over which kinds of creators and which kinds of communities their book goes to, and so things like that can definitely be considered. Someone asked what should influencers never do when requesting proofs or requesting to join the list, which is an interesting question, and I've already said it, but I think the main thing is never get disheartened. If you're not getting accepted to different publishers' lists, if you're not getting accepted for the books that you want to review, it's nothing personal. Keep trying, keep getting your account out there. All of your accounts have so much value to us, to the whole of the publishing industry. And so please don't take it personally when the small teams that run various influencer lists can't quite manage to include every single person in our mailing lists. So yeah, please don't give up on trying. But do I have any more specific advice for things you should never do? I would say it's an obvious one, but never be rude to us. It is real humans who run the accounts. It's very, very rare that anyone is rude to us. The creators are so lovely that we speak to. but we will sometimes have people getting a bit cross with us that they didn't get the proofs that they wanted, or they're not on the list, and it's quite hard because we're just trying to do our job, we're trying to do the best we can. So I think that's my only advice I would give is just be nice to us. Quite a few people sent in questions about when they should post, whether they should post their reviews as soon as they've read the book or whether they should wait and time it more with publication. And again, this is a very interesting question, and it is going to vary title to title, but in general, I would say don't worry too much about the time that you post, because there are different uses, there's different value at each point. So building up a lot of buzz and hype pre-publication is really exciting. So if you've read a book and it's still quite a long way out, but you've loved it and you want to talk about it, go for it. We love that. Unless we've specifically told you that there is an embargo, which sometimes happens, and then please take those seriously. But if we haven't told you there's an embargo, I'm really happy for influencers to post about books way ahead of publication. Posting around publication is great, and we will sometimes contact you asking you to reshare your posts, even if it's just resharing a post into a story or creating a new story to celebrate the publication date. That is great, getting a bit of buzz on pub day. But it doesn't finish there because, as I'm sure you all know, you're all readers as well as creators. The average book reader doesn't particularly care when publication date is. If you walk into a bookshop, you pick up the books that you want to read. It doesn't matter if they came out 6 months ago or even 2 years ago. And so don't worry about feeling like you've missed publication day and that we will be disappointed that you didn't post on publication day, because keeping those sales going, keeping that hype going after publication is really important as well. So in short, unless we told you specifically a time that we want you to post or don't want you to post, then your schedule is up to you. You know what's going to work best with your audience, you know which books you want to talk about, and so I, in general, try and take a pretty hands-off approach to influencer marketing, trying not to dictate much of anything, really. You have no obligations to post at all or at particular times. I just want you to be your authentic selves, because that is the best way to get conversations going about our books. Which leads me straight on to the next question, which was, what is the most important thing influencers can do to help promote the books that they are given? And I would just say, I'd repeat myself to just say, be your honest self and talk about them. If you're really enthusiastic about a book, let that enthusiasm show. If you're not particularly enthusiastic about a book, you can still talk about it, because I cannot tell you the number of times that I have bought a book based on somebody's negative review because everyone has completely different tastes, and I might read a review or watch a video where someone is describing a book they didn't like. Every single reason they're giving for why they didn't like it is a thing that I know I like about books. So if you're worried about posting a negative review, don't be. We just really want you to say as much as you want about these books, because that is how people will find out about them and find out whether they want to read them. I had a question about whether book reviews are still as important as content. And I'm really glad that somebody asked this, because yes, absolutely. Different types of content are all really, really important in different ways. So book reviews, if you mean kind of book reviews on a blog, are really useful for search. It's really, really helpful for people who want to find out more about a book, to make that decision whether or not they want to buy that book, to have in-depth written book reviews. Those are brilliant. Content, if by that you're talking about photo content and video content on social media, is really, really great for discoverability, for bringing new books to people's attention that they might not have heard of before. Each different content type might reach a different type of person. Some people don't go on social media very much, they're more likely to read blogs, or vice versa, but also it will reach people at different stages of their book buying journey. So social media posts might be better for raising awareness, but written book reviews might be better for pushing purchases. So I would say all types of content are equally important. Then I got some questions on data, which is just my favourite topic and a very interesting and difficult one to talk about with relation to influencer marketing. So one question I got was how we measure success, how we measure return on investment. And there are so many different ways that we do this. So I mentioned earlier that social media content might be better for discoverability and written content might be better for pushing up to make a purchase. So this is basically all referring to the marketing funnel. If you don't know about that, it's the kind of funnel that pushes people down towards making a purchase. And at the top of the funnel, you are targeting a much wider audience. This is all about getting awareness, getting as many people as possible interested in your product. The further down you go down the funnel, you're narrowing your target audience and getting them further and further to actually making the decision to make a purchase. So right at the bottom of the funnel, you would have things like when you're already on Amazon and you see an advert and it's got a link through to buy the product. That is really bottom of the funnel marketing at that point, because the algorithm has helped identify you as someone who's likely to buy that product, and you're right there ready to add it to your basket and go. So applying that to influencer marketing, generally speaking, the content that we love seeing all over social media has historically always been thought of as pretty top of the funnel marketing. And so to measure success there, we would be looking at reach, we would be looking at engagement. We want to know how far this video has gone, how many people have seen it. That's not to say that that kind of marketing can't also work at the bottom of the funnel, because we do sometimes see, and it's very satisfying when this happens, direct sales spikes. So for example, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara suddenly went back up to #1, and we saw that a TikToker in America had made a viral video crying over A Little Life, and that had actually pushed the book back up the charts again, which was incredible. It is possible that a viral video can translate directly into sales, and seeing a correlation between a sales spike and a spike in reach of a video or a few videos or posts on social media is incredible. But it is relatively rare that we get to see it as straightforwardly, simply as that. What is more likely is that we would start by looking at the reach of the content, and we would measure our success based on how many eyeballs we have got on that content. We might then contact influencers who are particularly enthusiastic about a book and then set up a paid commission with them. And the purpose of that content is slightly different. We do want reach, but we're also looking to drill down a little bit more, a little bit further down that funnel. So we can put money behind the videos, boost them to particular audiences that we have identified as more likely to buy the book. And so we might be narrowing down the pool of people who see it, but we're giving them some content that gives them more specific reasons of why they should buy the book. So thinking in terms of content types, a TikTok that goes viral, that uses a trending sound and introduces a book to somebody, but really the viewer only gets to see kind of the cover of the book, the title of the book, and the fact that it makes somebody cry, for example. That is the type of content that we might measure in terms of reach, but we might then want to have content created that goes into more detail about the book to people who are already interested in this genre, and then they want to actually hear more reasons why they should buy it. Some publishers and some other industries that work with influencers will at this point start using things like affiliate links and discount codes in order to really be able to track conversions. So there are all sorts of ways that you can use data to measure the success of your videos, but we take a very wide-ranging approach. But on that, somebody asked what kind of info we would like to see from influencers, and my answer to that would be as much as possible. Anything that you are happy to share with us about the analytics of your content is really, really useful, because we can't inherently see that. And if you are able to show us quite how many views a particular story got, or anything interesting that you've noticed about the demographics of a particular post, anything that you think that you find interesting, we will find interesting. And so please always feel free to get in touch with us and share anything interesting in the analytics that you've discovered, because it really helps us to put more specific value on your content, understand how your content is working for us. Getting into some quite heavy topics here, we got a very interesting question on how our process of working with influencers might be affected by things like boycotts or world events or any kind of big social media event as well. And I wanted to answer this question because I think it's really, really important that publishers and any companies that work with influencers take this seriously, because I view it as a really important part of my role to have a duty of care over the influencers that we work with, whether that is in a paid or unpaid relationship. Any big conversation that is happening online does really affect our process of working with influencers, because we would never ask an influencer to do anything on our behalf that puts them into a dangerous position. That's something that's really, really important to me. So if we see that there is a big conversation happening online, we will consider that anytime we are asking an influencer to post something, because they are the ones who are going to be the front face for that campaign, and therefore it is our responsibility to make sure that them doing that is safe for them. So that's why we have things like, in any paid contract we have, they always have the right to turn off comments if they would like to. We love when they keep comments on, because engagement is really, really great, but it is never going to be an obligation. The safety of the influencer will always come first. And of course, we would never oblige an influencer to go through with a contract if there were any reasons why they were worried about it. It's very, very important to me that all of the influencers we work with feel completely safe and looked after by us. I've been asked my favourite and least favourite part of my job. You should have planned what my answer was going to be before I started filming this. I would say that my favourite part of the job is that I genuinely love the book community online. It's a community that I was actually part of as a creator before I ever got into this job, and so I've seen it from both sides. And it's such an interesting space to be working in. And I think specifically influencer marketing within the publishing world is such an amazing place to be working, because unlike almost any other industry that I can think of, the product that you might give to an influencer for them to advertise is the product that all of their viewers are interested in. So unlike other sponsorships that you might take on even as a book creator, as a book creator myself, I've taken on sponsorships from jewelry brands, for example, and I think that is probably a lot harder for them to measure the success of those campaigns, because they have no real way of knowing what percentage of my audience like jewelry. But you can pretty much guarantee that 100% of my audience like books. And so marketing books within the bookish community is very straightforward in that way. But also that, again, unlike any other industry I can really think of, there's such a communal aspect in having the same books. So with exceptions like, the Uniqlo bag, which went viral and I bought 3 colours because everyone wanted to have the same thing. In general, in the kind of beauty and fashion world, you don't want to have the same thing as everybody else. Whereas in the book world, it is all about communicating with other people who share your interest, reading the same books. It's why people like joining book clubs. And so when you give a creator a book to promote on their platform, not only are they promoting it to an audience 100% of whom are interested in books, they are also promoting it to an audience who are very, very likely to want to read the same book that they have, so that they can talk about it together. And so I just find that a really fun and welcoming and exciting community to be working within. So I'd say that's my favourite part of my job, is being part of the incredible book community. My least favourite part of my job is a much harder question. Maybe the fact that, as a bit of a data nerd, it is really hard, as I alluded to earlier, it is really hard to get very, very clear data on the success of campaigns, and I would love it if we could see exactly how many book sales we were getting from our efforts. And I would love to be able to share that with all of you as well, because I know from speaking to you that you also want to know what your efforts are doing. And so I wouldn't say that's like the worst part of my job. I'd say it's a part of my job that I would love if we could improve it. And finally, someone just said, tell us something we don't know. And so I'm going to use this as a time to talk about something that you might know, but a lot of you probably don't, or seemingly don't, because I watch your social media feeds, is about the importance of disclosing ads. I'm always amazed at how many really big creators post things that are very obviously advertisement and they don't disclose it in any way. And what you might not know is that you and us, essentially, so the creator and the brand that are sponsoring that video, share legal responsibility for making sure that the ad disclosing guidelines are followed. So it's really, really important. We will never, ever ask you to hide the fact that something is an ad. And if any brand that you are working with ever ask you to do that, they ever ask you to try and disguise the fact that it's a brand, do not listen to them, do not work with them, because you share that legal responsibility. The bit that people don't always know is that you don't have to be being paid for something to count as an ad. So when you are gifted a product, even if there's absolutely no obligation to post about it, when you do post about it, you are legally supposed to disclose that that is an ad. Some people put hashtag gifted. Technically, you should put hashtag ad gifted. It is really important to disclose every single time you are featuring a product that you have been given or paid to promote in any way. That includes being invited to events, it includes experiences, anything that you are getting a benefit from the brand to do, you really do have to disclose that to your followers. And I think a lot of people either don't know that, or they forget to do it, or they think it's not that important, but I would say it is very important. Oh, another thing I just thought of to tell you something that you might not know is why you're not allowed to sell proofs. Because I think most people know that you're not allowed to, but they don't necessarily know why. Is that just publishers being annoying? Is it just us trying to make the books more exclusive? But no, there is an actual real legal reason why you are not allowed to sell proofs. That is a sale of the book that the author is not getting any royalties for. So that's why you're not allowed to do that. It's really simple. It actively is harming the author when you do that, and that includes trading, which I actually didn't know, so we're all learning something together. I learned this quite recently. If you are trading a proof for another book or something, that is trading for something that has financial value, and that counts the same way as a sale. So you're just not allowed to do it. If you want to pass on your proofs to friends for them to read, that is completely fine. We are very happy for proofs to be shared and build more word of mouth. It's just that they're not allowed to be sold or exchanged for anything with financial value, because that is actually depriving the author of royalties that should be being tracked and aren't being tracked. And the more and more this becomes a problem, the more people are selling and trading their proofs, it could result in the entire publishing industry having to change their model. So don't be part of the chaos that could cause. I hope I've answered everybody's questions in this. I'm sure I've generated even more questions, so please do comment below if there's anything else that you would like to know. If there's anything that you would like to ask Caroline as well, who helps me on our influencer program and also runs the TikTok, ask away. I will see if I can persuade her to make a video for you as well. Or questions for anyone else on the team. Honestly, whatever questions you want to ask about behind the scenes in publishing, put them below. I will link here to a playlist of all of our other kind of behind the scenes in publishing videos if you're interested in that aspect. And subscribe below to make sure that you never miss a book break video, and I'll see you next time.